Welcome back to the third, or is it the fourth, Battle of Winchester. Folks, here we are once again back in our Confederate campaign, doing our best to beat the Federals back. And this is without a doubt going to be, or is officially, our largest battle yet. Essentially, the Federals were trying to siege the Army of the Potomac under Beauregard, and we had to respond very, very quickly there with Johnston. Now, I do want to get Jackson's brigade back. He's managed to lead some unbelievable cavalry charges, and if you haven't seen those, I would highly recommend you take a look at the previous episode here, episode 24. Guys, we have pretty much destroyed the couple of enemy units there in the center. I think the skirmishers have done a great job. We've even managed to scare off these guys in the northwest a bit. Not completely, though. They are still in the fight, but I'm just going to keep the skirmisher action going. The bit that I am very worried about, so if we go over here, where our second army is, that's right, we got a second force. It seems that the Federals have established a new point on top of that hill there, and it actually gives them a really good line of sight down on this force crossing the river. I always, hate on the Federals for crossing the river in situations like this, but I think, we have to now, or we simply don't get across, pretty much. So I'm going to try to get across. Of course, it is risky. We're also moving in a line formation. Let's see what happens. If things start changing and we find we have a massive force on the other side, I will stop. I'm also going to start taking guys like 1st Brigade and moving up here on the left flank to get that group to focus over here anyway. And hopefully they won't be focusing so much on that move across the bridge. That's it, boys. Really want to get Johnson back. Not sure. Come on, Jackson, rather. Come on, Jackson. Get a courier out to Jackson, for goodness sakes. Really just moving forward with Jones in an effort to save Jackson. In fact, we'll do the same here with Holmes. We've got the advantage here in the center, so you know what? We might as well take it and knock 2nd Brigade out of the fight. Come on now. It should be a pretty nice volley. Yeah! I'm also going to switch these skirmishers. They've done enough damage to the enemy. Have them switch over here and fire at Kimball's detachment. But I think, so far, we've done okay at fighting back against the siege. Now, it's still going on, without a doubt. And fighting uphill here is not ideal. I'm going to go ahead and take Jones, start targeting that unit that's already faltering, and start targeting this guy on the left with Jubilee early. And of course, we want to make sure that the artillery fire is just constant and consistent on that particular Union line. All right, Johnston got back. Johnston got back without retreating. Again, we've had a big issue there with, extremely strong cavalry units that retreat at the end of the battle and end up looking really bad in the papers. That's right, in the actual newspapers, they end up looking like cowards, despite the fact that they're probably our bravest men on the field. And there we go. Sure enough, 1st Brigade taken off in a dead run, it looks like, just to get away from here. We're going to keep on pushing. Look at that, man. Jubilee, Early's men firing away with great jubilation. Yes, indeed. That's a pun I have no issue making. Let's keep on hitting them, boys. We're firing at 3rd Brigade now, but it definitely looks like 1st there is in trouble. 486 losses. Damn, man. Let's see how our boys are doing. So we're just now starting to get across. I hate these movements across the canals. I attack the Federals for them all the time. I'm actually going to try to set up this cannon in such a way that he can begin firing now. It's also a pretty woody area, so I think there's always a risk traversing an area with this much fog of war. For all we know, they could have a unit right there and a unit right there just waiting for us. But we got to push this this opportunity, I think. There we go. Hey, the boys made it across pretty quickly. 3rd Confederate State Infantry here. Yeah, baby. Fighting up that hill, and we got a nice initial volley there, I think, because it was a detachment. Well done, Wise. Or McLaws, rather. I want to stop his movement completely. It's completely messed up. Let's get some skirmishers out there. That's better. Much better. And we'll push them forward. We are going to push up this hill. Hell, I'll even take the cavalry if I need to and charge up the hill. But look at that. The detachment is completely broken. And while I wouldn't typically advise a push up a hill like this, I am going for it. I really, really hope that the enemy doesn't pull a Chamberlain on us, but I think we're doing okay. Alright. Some bad news over here. We did have a detachment break away. In fact, might be a whole infantry unit, but we're going to just push these current detachments forward. And I'm, of course, keeping our men in red, Evans' men over here, just watching the enemy. That's right, we had this cavalry unit that we were going to use on the enemy. First, let's push forward with Cock. I've wanted to say that a long time. Get across with Loring, of course. This is our wonderful, wonderful cavalry. And just make sure that Walker, with his 12-pound howitzers, these are some heavy guns, is putting down some effective fire on the enemy. In fact, I think we should probably get even closer. Let's do that. So far, so good over here. Although I want to get Jackson all the way back. I don't want him to fight any more today. He's had enough of the fight. Also got some bad news here with 6th Brigade under my favorite commander for the Confederacy, Jubilee Early. He looks like he's about to break. So does 1st Brigade under Bonham. The men are starting to lose some of that fighting spirit. I mean, keep in mind, these armies have been in so many battles. Just around this area in Winchester, they've been in 3 or 4. This exact army. The only one that's fresh is the one that's crossing over here. And we better keep our eyes on that crossing. There we go. Fight our way up the hill, boys. If they can't hold the hill, that's their fault. Take the hill. Take that damn hill, boys. For those of you wondering, of course I'm considering a charge. But I want to make sure that it goes perfectly. I'm going to send Maury up there. And for those of you that mentioned, you know, switching out weapons, we've done it for most of our units. Maury is a fairly new cavalry unit. I did not hook him up. In fact, I think most of this army under, what's his name? Under Henry Wise, we didn't do much with. Because we put pretty much everything into the Army of the Shenandoah and into the Army of the Potomac. So hoping that wasn't a mistake, because now I'm looking over here, and I'd certainly like some better weapons, but a lot of these guys at the front are doing just fine. It's really Johnson that's not looking great. McLaw's got those new rifles, and if it wasn't uphill, I would have already gone for the charge. Here we go, boys. Coming around with that wonderful Confederate State Cavalry. Get the artillery a bit closer. They might even be able to fire from down here uphill at the enemy. Although I don't like this positioning any more than you guys do. And it looks like Withers, a few of these guys are just kind of made to run. Withers has been disappointing since the beginning of the war. I'd like to get him out of the army. We might replace him as a commander. He just hasn't shown himself to be capable. He's got some decent rifle. He's got a decent rifle. He doesn't have many men. That could be an issue. He's got 1,300. And here we go, boys. The Great Rebel Charge. Maury! Charge, sir! 196 men in that skirmisher brigade, not nearly enough to do any damage on a charge. But we are going to be charging here uphill with Johnson. That's right, boys. Call it a reverse little round top, call it whatever you want. But we are not stopping until victory is achieved. Really wish the movement in this game was somewhat better. You really have to be careful or else you end up completely getting off task. Sabers at the ready, boys. Sabers at the ready. I mean, it is just a beautiful sight for sore eyes. Look at that, guys. Chopping them to bits. And I really want to try and take another unit prisoner. So I'm going to keep on charging through these guys. Eventually, of course, we'll charge down to the Volunteer Brigade. But with 2,711 men, they might be a handful. Even though they're not the best trained, this is a very green Federal Army. I still think that that many men is going to be a problem. Let's see if we could succeed with this charge completely, guys. We could charge down the hill, wipe out the rest of the men on top of Bowers Hill here. And it looks like on the other side of the hill there, our men are struggling. I'm going to take Johnson's detachment, and I am going to charge with those mixed muskets, nice Bowie knives into the Union. And again, just continue to try to take these guys prisoner. Taking this many Federals prisoner would be a huge boost, I think, to the morale of our men. Now, here's the issue. Cohesion is failing. That's not great. They definitely need the support of that Confederate infantry. And sure enough, it looks like the volunteers may be assisting. But look at this, guys, going up the hill. And we knew it was a mistake, but we already lost one unit. He fell back. The other one also kind of fell back here, and we're just kind of defending in this area for now. We do still have a bunch of Federals ahead of us here, so we'll focus on them. But I don't think we should try any more pushes up Bowers Hill. I don't think it's going to lead to anything good. So we'll stay back here. Just keep that artillery going and focus really on this attack. There we go. And sure enough, it looks like our boys are going to be facing the Volunteer Brigade, whether we like it or not. I'm also going to send the cavalry. They're tired, but we need every man for this charge. There we go. There's some prisoners. Definitely going to be prisoners, guys. I think so, anyway. Come on. Might as well take this opportunity to get the artillery up on top of the hill. Same with the rest of these infantry units. Oh, let me redraw that. Even Withers. Even Withers. There we go, guys. Darkness has fallen. Victory is mine. Not bad. A really nice little victory, but a quick one, I will say. 1,650 lost. 6,000 lost on the Union side. This was not... It's not a battle to even write home about. But it lets us know that in the future, we've got to be really careful with even our border armies. They will take us on, even with lesser men. Now, they slightly outnumbered us, but this was a totally green army. And in terms of artillery, I mean, they had no chance. Well, there we go, the good old victory speech. But once again, Colonel Jackson, losing face, and he didn't actually retreat this time. He was just kind of fatigued and tired. So in the future with our cavalry, man, we just have to be ridiculously careful with them. They are very sensitive to those retreats. Now, we still got the Army of the Northwest under Garnett over here. And I've actually not looked at this army. I thought it was mostly cavalry, but it looks like it's an infantry force with an artillery squad. And what we wanted to do is attack Pittsburgh, Pennsylvania with this force. But it seems like 4,000, man. For them to take Pittsburgh, it would take a lot of luck. That being said, you know what? That's what we're all about. We're all about luck. We've made some pretty crazy attacks. And you know what? For the most part, they've worked out fairly well for us. Now, I just want to make absolutely sure that we are getting support here with Johnston's army. And I think we might need to move up here to Manassas Junction to officially be getting that support. We are connected to depots, and if you left click here, it actually shows us what depots we're connected to, but I just feel a little more comfortable right there, especially since if a federal army comes down here, we might be able to catch them in time before they swing this way. Now, as for not the Army of Northern Virginia, but the Army of the Shenandoah, sorry, the Army of the Potomac, I'm a little worried. They're not looking so good, and really more in terms of supply. As you can see, Beauregard's supply is all the way down, but they are, once again, you know, in the correct area. I think what we need to do is just get Henry Wise out of here. So we're going to take Henry Wise and send him to the Cumberland over here. We've got more men coming up from the south as well. Quite a few more, actually. We've got the Army of Florida under Braxton Bragg. In fact, we added 1,000 men to that army not too long ago. Polk's command is kind of hanging out back here, keeping things safe. But what I'm going to do with Bragg is go up here and try to take this depot here in Lexington, Kentucky. As you guys know, Kentucky has been a point of contention since the beginning of this conflict. And even during the actual American Civil War, much like Kansas, there were a lot of, you know, factions that kind of went back and forth, I guess you could say. By the way, we got to get this Missouri State Guard back. But in this one in particular, Kentucky is looking like an exact repeat of Kansas because we actually took over the state. It's now officially a Confederate state. However, some of the cities are still Union, so you can imagine what kind of problems that causes. I was just taking a look at our Western armies to see if there's any damage that can be done over here. But I'm not so sure. You know, initially I was going to take the Missouri State Guard and the Western Army and strike this area. But I think we're going to wait for a bit, especially since we need to get that army back and, you know, get them in some better shape. Actually, shame on me for not fast-forwarding here. Let's try to go through a couple days. Glory, hallelujah. Mine eyes have seen the glory. Battle hymn of the Republic. Music and patriotic songs have been important for Americans, and during the American Civil War, both sides have their own songs to raise spirits. On this day, a most rousing song called the Battle Hymn of the Republic has been Glory, Glory, Hallelujah. Of course it has. Well, that's not good for us. That's going to slightly lower morale for us, I'm pretty sure. And also, that's it's basically John Brown's body is moldering in the grave. It's that story about famous abolitionist John Brown. And of course, an awesome, awesome, awesome song. Now look at that. West Virginia fielding approximately 22,000 men. So let's take a look here and see what's going on. Army of the Northwest would be the army that just assisted. No, that's the Army of Northern Virginia. No, here we go. So, we've got Garnett up against... No way. We are definitely going to retreat. They have 21,400 men. I am going to retreat immediately. And that is considered an actual loss. So shame on me. Should have known better. If we're going to head over there, we got to head over there with a bigger army. Like, for instance, the Army of the Potomac. But they have a lot of work to be done. Again, weather is affecting them. Lack of food is affecting them. And they are unhappy. Might even need to move them farther south, guys, for them to get the actual treatment they're looking for here. I'm going to let you guys decide. For now, I'm just going to go ahead, fast forward. And I do see, for sure, the readiness is increasing, but not by much. And one thing that's definitely the case is winter is just going to make this take a lot longer, I believe. If we go over here, Johnston is not suffering from the same food shortages. What I might need to do is trade places. So, for instance, take the Army of the Shenandoah, go over here, and take the Army of the Potomac, and head over here. I'm guessing that there's just a lot better supplies over where the Army of the Shenandoah is, so you know what? That's exactly where we're headed. Let's take a look there at those policies as well. Believe we're going down tariffs or printing notes. Only 3.5 days before we get some wonderful new Confederate bills out on the market. Now, the Union has just passed the Confiscation Act. And what this means is that, essentially, if slaves run across the border to the Union, they will no longer be returned. And that includes, you know, any slaves that are over here on business for their masters, etc. Yeah, definitely to our cause. And look, if we're going to be honest about the Civil War, the Confederate cause, could do a separate video on this. It's very clear that the peculiar institution was what was most important, at least to those in control. I'm sure that many of the soldiers on the ground weren't actually even aware of that, etc. But that's the case here, and so definitely a slap in the face to our men. Absolutely a slap in the face. What's worse is it looks like Henry Wise is suffering from the same low food and unhappiness that our previous general was. So I'm almost thinking I will get right on the Cumberland, but I'm almost thinking like the only way to really get these guys back to full strength is to get them back over here to the proper south, not just locations that we've captured, you know, and that are now proxy. That's not necessarily going to work. There we go. We got some wonderful Confederate banknotes. Now, of course, that is going to increase inflation, but at least people are going to have a little bit of money to spend, man. So I'm not too upset about that. Now, again, people rarely give suggestions to policy. Everybody's pretty amazing, and I appreciate everybody's comments on just about everything in this damn game, because I certainly need the help. But let me know what you guys think I should focus on now. I'm just looking through here. The diplomacy approach -9, research speed due to lower state support, up to $500,000 annually. It all seems pretty great. And this would lower Union sea trade, which kind of seems like a good thing because, you know, the Union at this point really dominates on the ocean. We've seen that in the beginning. This also affects subsidies. Let's take a look here at industrialization. Increased to $500,000 annually. I think we're going to go just for industrialization 1 here. This act will allow higher tariffs of up to 50% to be imposed on foreign imports. Imports more lucrative for the government. The thing that concerns me about that is, are we actually going to be getting any benefit from that if our trade is completely shut down? I'm not so sure we are. So it's the Conscription Act. This is what we're really trying to get to, guys. Once we get to the Conscription Act, that's when we can start raising more men, and I really think that's the most important thing. But I don't want to neglect our industry, so I'm going to go for industrialization there. Definitely, I think focusing on those military acts is going to have to be our goal, because for us, I think it's the most important thing. Now, what about that Army of the Northwest on the Garnet? Might have to bring the boy back. He's just not going to be able to do much here unless we just want to send him behind enemy lines and kind of wreak some havoc. But frankly, I'd rather give him, you know, some additional forces. I think he'd be better off in that situation. The good news is the Army of the Potomac is definitely getting better fed. We can see that. So without a doubt, the breadbasket of the South here in this Fredericksburg, Richmond area is where we're going to be able to really get these armies back to full strength. And you know what? That means I'm going to take the Army of Northern Virginia. I'm going to go down here to these farms, these Confederate farms, and hopefully we'll be able to get that much-needed food. Also start building up the armies. But keep in mind, it's going to take a while. Got a lot of, well, building up to do, let's say. There we go. We also want to take a look at Bragg's army. That's the Army of Florida. Remember, we sent them north. That's Garnett. There he is. Bragg is there. Unbelievable. Well, good news and bad news. He does seem to be in an okay position here. However, not ready for an attack. So if we wanted to go ahead and attack the army in the north or the west, we've got really nothing we could do. What I think is probably going to be extremely important here is to build a depot. Maybe even a telegraph. Oh no, we've got a telegraph right there. My bad. I believe we're on a depot. But I think it's actually just a city. I think the depot might be something separate. So we're going to go ahead and get that depot up before we get attacked and hopefully get some supplies in. But again, I'd love to get some actual men to Bragg. He's an excellent commander and certainly could hurt the Union quite a bit. How is Beauregard doing? How long are you going to have to take, son, to get those supplies back? Man, that readiness, you guys can see that readiness under his name. It's not great. I'm even going to move him up a little bit here. The good news is that if the enemy attacks us within our own territory here in the south, we will certainly be able to respond. Roger that. Alright, just some basic military dispatches. Nothing we need to concern ourselves about with too much just yet. Now, hold on a second. Hold on now. We've got a perk. That's right, guys. This is my first perk for the general. Now, what I'd like to do is something that's going to increase the progression of guys that are not willing to fight to ready to fight. So I guess increase readiness. Foot cavalry. The flying column. Such excellent ideas here. Even things that would make us move across rivers faster. Partisan brigades. Bushwhackers. Embedded reporters. Speed of fame development. Level up by fighting battles. You know, I hate to go for this one as the first one, but I'm going to go for embedded reporters. That's right. Have some reporters in Beauregard's army so that he gets all of the glory. I didn't see anything there that was going to improve or increase readiness, so we'll kind of wait for that. But you can see, look at that. That readiness is increasing, though I'm thinking it's probably going to take a week or two before Beauregard is ready to fight again. Well, I hope you guys enjoyed this episode. I want to thank you so much for being so gracious during these episodes and during this series. Keep on doing what you're doing, and we'll keep on fighting on this end. Glory to the everlasting South.